Yeah, I'm just giving an oral presentation. No. Yes.
So there's no presentation.
No presentation.
So we're good.
Okay. Nope.
I mean, I have one if you want.
You're ready. You're on.
I was ready. I was ready.
Recording in progress.
She's like, how dare you, no presentation?
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the IOE meeting. It is January 14th, 2025. Yes, 2025, the first and only meeting of this month. I'd like to make an announcement, and before we get to roll call, I'd like to announce that President or Director Alvarado is now the committee chairperson. So I would like to pass the gavel on to Director Alvarado.
Thank you, sir. I will gladly take that gavel. For this committee, of course.
Roll call.
All right, roll call. Yes,
All right, Director Rentila,
Here.
Chair Alvarado.
I am here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. And please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll ask Director Antila to lead us through the pledge. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. It is now time for public comments for items on the agenda. Madam Clerk, have we received any public comments?
We have not. If anyone has any comments on non-agenda items, please come to the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no comments.
Okay, thank you. Deputy General Manager Justin Lovell, please lead us through the rest of the agenda.
All right. Good morning. So I'll be filling in for Michael Savannah this morning. Item 1 on the agenda is to accept the minutes of the December 10th, 2024 Infrastructure Operations and Environment Committee. Madam Clerk, have we received public comments on this item?
We have not. If anyone has comments on item 1, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. We have no comments.
Okay, can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, and I second and accept. Okay. Next item.
All right. Here we go. Item 2 on the agenda is to receive an update on the strategic planning process. Madam Clerk, have we received public comments on this item?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on item 2, please approach the podium, raise your hand in Zoom. No comments at this time.
All right. So I'll just give you, I just want to give the committee a brief update on the strategic planning process. So as you recall, the board approved a contract with Rafteli's financial consultants to lead the strategic plan update last fall. The strategic plan is broken down into essentially what we call 4 activities. So we're activity 1, which is is assessments of surveys and doing an environmental scan. So that's essentially looking at all of our documents, such as like our strategic plan progress, like all the reports that we've had. We do general manager monthly reports, looking at our draft master plan, the DEI AB assessment, employee engagement survey. It's really just kind of, and there as a consultants are just looking kind of holistically at the activities we've been doing, what's our progress been on the existing strategic plan. And so they've been working on that in the last several months. And they're providing a summary PowerPoint that will be presented to the board as part of the workshop. So activity 2, which has been happening in parallel of activity 1, is the preparing for the board workshop, which is scheduled for February 20th. So that will, so things that they've had, I'm sure both of the committee members, you've had an interview with probably Nancy and somebody else from Raftelis in the last couple months ago. We've held employee focus groups, so one for line staff, one for supervisors, and we've also had an ELT focus group. And so as they're pulling together all of this information, that's going to help shape the conversation that's going to be part of the board workshop. And so after the board workshop on February 20th, Raftelis will provide, take all that information from the board, the input, and talking about the priorities, and they'll prepare a draft strategic plan that will then come back to the board during really a study session or a work session where we can, as a board, can just discuss what the draft plan looks like, provide any input and feedback. Would also go to employees as well to provide some feedback at that time, and that will take place around March, April timeframe. And then after that, once we've gotten all the input from the draft strategic plan, will come back to the board for final adoption. So the goal is to have final adoption of the strategic plan update prior to June 30th of this year. And then there's one last activity, activity 4, that once the strategic plan is adopted, Raftelius is going to assist on providing kind of reporting templates, and just so we can have some framework to be able to report back to the board the strategic plan progress for over the next 5 years. And so, yeah, happy to answer any questions that you have just about the strategic plan, where we're at. It's just, taking us a few months to get some schedules all lined up, but we're pretty soon, next month, I think you'll see a lot of activity for the next 3 or 4 months.
Sounds good. President Rentila, any questions?
No, not at this time, thank you.
Okay, I have no questions either.
Great.
So thank you for the update. Next item.
All right. Item 3 on the agenda is to receive an update on the Geographic Information System Strategic Plan projects. Madam Clerk, have we received public comments on this item?
We have not. If anyone has comments on item 3, please come to the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. We have no comments.
All right. So I'd like to introduce Judy Chen as our Planning Support Manager and to lead off this item.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair and member of the committee. My name is Judy Chen. I'm the Planning and Support Manager with IMP Department. Today, we would like to present you the GIS Strategic Plan Projects Update. The GIS Strategic Plan document was furnished and complete in summer of 2023. With the plan itself, we have listed out 30 and plus project that fiscal year. And since the completion of the document, we have been presenting to the IOE committee as well as the board of directors meeting with the status update, where we are with the project. One thing I want to emphasize is how important the GIS stands for Geographic Information System, how important the GIS is for our organization, why we keep coming back to the IOE committee as well as the board of directors meeting to provide a status update. It is because GIS is not just a map showing where our asset is. It also helps us to make a sound decision-making process. So a lot of time, finance will reach out to GIS, getting the parcel information for the water usage, coordinate with East Bay Mart. The partner agency will reach out to us and identify where their asset is, right? And recently, we just got the inquiry from the partner agency and say, oh, we thought that that's our asset. Can you identify? And they reach out to our GIS program analyst. One other component that is really important is GIS is a foundation of the CMMS. CMMS stands for Computer Maintenance Management System. It is a powerful system that the agency like wastewater agency like us use to create running an inventory report. And all of this data is stored in GIS. So without a solid and strong GIS foundation, it's going to be very difficult to accomplish those projects. So that's why we have spending a lot of resources just to make sure that we have a sound foundation of the GIS, and we continue to solidify the GIS database as well as application itself so that we can support in multiple different ways. So today's presentation, we're gonna briefly talk about the GIS strategic plan. How is the component look like to come together to furnish this plan, as well as the value proposition, right? What's the benefit for our organization? Why we are doing this? And the team will also talk about the project that we are going to accomplish for the remainder of this year, as well as next 2 fiscal year, biennial year, fiscal year 26 and 27. We're going to talk about the project that we are going to do as well as the budget associated with it. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our GIS program analyst, Mohammad Ghouri.
Oops. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for allowing me to be here today to present to you all on our update for our GIS program. So as Judy mentioned, we've come to you several times, and the last time we came to you all was late last year. So in this presentation or this update, I'll be providing you information in regards to our upcoming projects, in addition to projects that we're currently working on and where they stand. So just a quick overview of the agenda. We'll look at the projects, some of the budget and resource allocations that we'll need for these projects and that we're currently even working on, and then also some of the impacts to the different divisions and work groups within our organization, and also kind of what we're looking forward to down the line. So just a quick refresher reminder, again, from our strategic planning efforts that we undertook, as Judy mentioned, a few years ago. These are some of the main kind of criteria or areas of focus within our GIS plan. And that's broken down into these kind of components. The different strategic, technical, tactical, logical, and political pieces are broken down into these pillars. And all the projects are associated with these pillars. And even today, the ones we'll go over are primarily focusing on a lot of the pillar 2, 3, and 4, and even to some extent 5 as well. So that's kind of the focus of a lot of the projects that we're working on right now, and even some of the ones that are coming up down the line. So here what we have is just a quick table to kind of summarize the projects that we're working on. I'll start with the current ones that we're looking at, which is adding our historical CIP projects to our GIS layer. We've created a GIS layer for a lot of our CIP projects that have been completed, but it wasn't thorough enough to really go back to the early 2010 area. And so what we're doing right now is we're collecting a lot of this project documentation within our organization, whether it's hard copy or digital copy, as-built drawings or project drawings, taking that information and combing through it to find the sheets that have the information that we need to input into our CIP GIS layer. What this will do essentially is allow us to really capture what has been done over the years and how can we use that information to plan for future CIP projects as it relates to our gravity system. We're currently working on this now, so we're anticipating this to be completed by the end of the fiscal year. And the major pieces is in regards to this is our budget that we wanted to also identify, is that to go through this, the fine-tooth comb essentially to be able to get this information out from documentation. We've kind of identified those costs on the right side of this table here. This other project, second project we're working on is our force main location project. We're essentially taking a pilot approach to this. We're looking at 2 different lift stations. The first lift station we're looking at is Terra Hills. At Terra Hills, we'll essentially use technology, these kind of larger pieces of equipment to essentially, from a subsurface scanning process, locate all the utilities within the lift station. And then also, once the force main leaves the lift station, we're going to follow that route or that path all the way down to wherever it connects to the gravity system. So we're essentially going to go through private property potentially. We're going to go through public right-of-way as well. And so we're looking at different aspects of ways to essentially accurately locate this force main and see how deep it is in the ground as well. The other location as part of this pilot study will be the Terra Hills lift station as well. It's a shorter run, but just as important because it's pretty close to San Paulo Dam Road. And so we're going to be using this information to essentially update our system. We'll get the takeaways from that and then hopefully apply it to future force main location projects. Project number 3 is our CityWorks storeroom. As Judy mentioned, our CMMS system or our CityWorks is crucial to our maintenance and operations. And one key component we'll be adding to that CityWorks system is the storeroom module or storeroom application. Essentially what this is going to do is create a virtual warehouse for us. So whether it's operations, maintenance, even our CSO department or division, inventory in a digital environment. And the benefit of doing that is now we kind of enhance our ability to do work order maintenance, preventative care and maintenance, because now we have accurate counts of our inventory or our parts or equipment that we're using, and we can apply that to the work order. And when staff are using this on the field, they'll be able to see exactly what the quantity they have available to them. And it also helps assisting with future planning and ordering of materials and parts as well. So there's a lot of benefits here, and we're kicking this off. Actually, we already kicked it off early this month. So this should be done also sometime in the early, within the early of this calendar year. Project number 4 is our treatment plant, or our WQRRP underground assets. So currently we have what they call the vertical assets, everything above ground in our GIS. But now we're looking to incorporate a lot of our underground infrastructure, our pipelines, our valves, all of our vaults, a lot of key infrastructure that we don't really know exactly where it is. We want to capture this information from record drawings, from as-built, from a lot of institutional knowledge, people who have been here for a long time, who have the memory and ability to know where these things are located. We're going to be reaching out to them and working with them to capture this information and bring it into our GIS. These are the projects that we're currently working on, or we're going to be working on very soon. The 2 projects now remaining on this list are future projects that we're going to be looking at doing sometime in fiscal year 26 and 27. The first one is our ArcGIS utility network. Essentially, what a utility network is being able to manage our sewer infrastructure at a much more intelligent, much more detailed way. It's taking a lot of our pipeline, our primarily the treatment plant and the lift stations, and connecting them to the buildings that they're associated with. Currently, we just have pipes running into buildings and stopping. But what this will allow us to do is show how does that pipe that comes to the building, how does it connect to all the infrastructure within each clarifier, within each headwork building or digester building. So now we have the ability to actually represent what is actually out in the field in our GIS. And then lastly, our SCADA integration. So SCADA is primarily used by our operations team, and with having this integration, we can take real-time operational data from SCADA and connect it to our GIS assets. So now you don't need to have a SCADA screen or need to have SCADA knowledge to understand what information you see in SCADA. Now, if you just pull up GIS, you click on an asset, you can see key information about a pump's runtime and things like that in GIS versus only seeing it in SCADA. So these are some key high value, high interest projects that were identified by staff, some of the timelines as I mentioned, and their associated cost with these projects. To value proposition, of course, there are numerous things or many things that we can probably touch on, but the things that I want to kind of focus on today are some of the operational efficiencies. We have information all over the organization, whether it's hard copies or somewhere, on our shared drives, but taking that information and providing it in a one-stop shop, which is our GIS application, improves our staff's ability to be able to efficiently maintain our assets, work on our assets, plan to improve and replace our assets. So that's one of the key benefits by doing some of these projects I've identified, is that we can be more efficient at taking care of these things. We can also give our decision makers the ability to have this information at their fingertips in one location and being able to use that information, historical information, to make decisions for the future. Whereas compared to, like I mentioned, data not being in one place makes it very difficult to find out what's the latest and greatest set of plans I need to look at, so that we can make future planning decisions a little bit easier. Of course, we want to minimize risk. If we know where things are, if we know how many quantities of equipment or materials we have, it allows us to reduce our risk of a failure, or reduce our risk of taking care of a failure. And lastly, our cross-functional collaboration. I think one of the biggest benefits so far of GIS is that GIS is not really centric to any one division or department. It's district-wide. It's organization-wide. And the information that we have available is made available to everybody within the organization. There's no silos per se of data. So by adding more information to the GIS, it allows the organization to have more visibility to our data and to the way we're maintaining and replacing and planning for our future. And lastly, next steps. So in no particular order, here we've identified some kind of key things that we want to take a look at as we kind of move forward with our projects, namely the ones that are currently in the planning process. So, we're looking to work with a lot of individuals, a lot of key stakeholders from other divisions, because obviously, GIS is only as strong as those who are using it. If no one's using it, then there's really no benefit of us putting this information in GIS. So we really want to work with our key stakeholders to make sure that what we're working on is what they need. And working around that, we're going to plan our timelines, our budgets, how we're going to collect the data, and where's it going to go, how's it going to live. So these are some of the main things that we're looking at doing as the key next steps for some of this project that we're planning for. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, thank you. President Rentila, questions?
I do have one question. It's a little off the road, but when you're when you're doing the data input, how far back do you typically go for generalized data?
Well, if we have a record of it, then we'll use that record to maintain it. But then, of course, the further we go back, there might be some newer things that may have happened since then. So we kind of take all that into consideration. But with the particular project that we're working on with the historical CIP projects information, that's more specifically focused on any CIP project that may have happened associated with that particular asset.
Okay, thank you.
And the estimated budget cost, is this the cost for all of the projects?
Yes, the ones listed, yes.
Okay. So it doesn't look like a huge budget, right? I mean, looks like we have the money, I would say.
I hope so.
Okay. All right, thank you. No more questions for me, I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is item 4, report on issues or matters pertaining to the work of the committee, which will include a briefing of collector repairs at the sedimentation basins. Madam Clerk, have we received public comments on this item?
We have not. If anyone has comments on item 4, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. We have no public comments.
All right, well, I'd like to invite Aaron Weiner up to discuss the repairs that were made recently at the treatment plant.
Thank you, Deputy GM Lovell. Aaron Weiner. What am I? I can't even remember what I am this morning.
Director of Water Quality and Resource
Quality and
Recovery.
Resource Recovery, thank you. I've been thinking about said basins for the last few minutes, so I'm a little bit distracted. So I've been, and we've been to the broader board and to this committee several times in the last year or two about our said basins. And really, just wanted to give you a brief update this morning on a mechanical failure we had over the Christmas holiday. I think I gave a brief report on it at one of the last board meetings, broader board meetings, and it was so on the 23rd of December, of course, 2 days before Christmas. An email went around from operations staff that there was a failure of said basin number 2, I believe. And the good news is that it is repaired and back in service. It took staff about 4 days to do that. For context, we have 4 sedimentation basins as part of the secondary process. And it's very critical to settling out solids and clarifying the secondary effluent before final discharge. The basins, 2 of them were built in 1970 and the 2 other ones in 1980, and they're all original. There have been some repairs and upgrades over time, but essentially the system is critical. What staff found over the 4 days was they diagnosed some electrical shorts and some things of that nature. And through the process of elimination over those 4 days, they traced it back to a bad motor. They changed out the motor, didn't work, and it ultimately had to replace it with a new motor, which did the trick. So the basin is in service now. So we have 3 out of 4 in service. And I think really the key point here is that, you know, this is something that we expect to continue until we can get those sedimentation basins completely rehabbed. Just for a little bit more context, there are large scrapers, flights that move sludge in the bottom of those basins via a chain system. And there are steel supports and runners on the bottom of the basins that guide those flights. And those supports and runners on the bottom of the basin are in very bad shape, and in some cases don't guide the system the way they need to. So the bottom line is that there are a lot of challenges that we'll continue to see. And I really wanted to kind of reiterate that, but also, you know, highlight the job that our maintenance staff and operations staff did through the holidays. This lasted through Christmas, and that's not unusual for things to happen around Christmas or Thanksgiving like this, because we run all the time. But our staff did a really good job of working. They were on the holidays and doing everything they could to get the basin back up and running, because otherwise we would have had two basins. We would have been at half capacity. And if you remember, at that time, it was raining, and we were facing high flows, which exacerbates the problem. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, it stopped raining, I think, on the 27th, the day that they, or maybe a couple days later, the day they finished the repairs. But that's where we're at. So wanted to give you that update, and happy to answer questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you. President Rentila, questions?
Yes, I just wanted to know, was it necessary to notify any other outside agencies, and what were the results, if so?
Yeah, as a matter of routine, we notify our regional board permit contact, Ms. Carrie O'Connor, every time we have a major, you know, or face a potential process issue, and we did this time, as we always do, and confirmed with her after the repairs were made that we were back in business. So she, you know, I don't think it's technically something that we have to do from a permit or regulatory standpoint, but, you know, we want to be transparent, and so we do that as a matter of routine.
Yeah, I personally don't think that the general public understands how the heavy rains can affect a system like ours. And thankfully, it hasn't been raining that much this year, since Christmas anyway. So I'm hoping it's excelling our production and our goals. So I thank you for your presentation.
Yes, thank you.
And I have no questions, so thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, well, that concludes all the reports from staff.
Okay, does staff have any, well, you don't, because that concludes your reports. So, okay, so I believe that's it for the agenda. Our next Infrastructure Operations and Environment Committee is scheduled for February 11th, 2025. If there is no further business, we will adjourn the meeting at 10:30. Thank you.
Not bad for